In a couple of weeks, the vast majority of this country is going to celebrate the holiday of Christmas. Now, during this holiday season, many Jewish people get freaked out. Why do they get freaked out? Because all of a sudden they begin to realize that although they've made it as a people in this country, and this is the greatest country on God's green earth, there is still something that gives them the heebie-jeebies around Christmas time. Because all of a sudden they begin to realize that they are a minority. And if there's one thing that unites Jews, regardless of their denomination, regardless of how much they know about their history, of their observance, the one thing that unites the Jewish people, if you ask the typical Jew, what makes you Jewish? It's our belief that we don't believe in Jesus. Now, since Christmas celebrates the birth of Jesus, and many Christians are going to get together and go to church, etc., and all these decorations, and you can't turn your head without hearing a Christmas jingle. So Jews start to feel this sense of alienation. They start to feel kind of out of it during Christmas, and they get all tied up in these knots and try to feel really freaky about what's going on around Christmas time. Now, for me personally, who cares? I mean, I'm glad, I'm proud to live in a country where everybody can practice their religion as the way they see fit. And if Christians want to have this big blowout party and celebrate Christmas, be it great, fantastic. But there's certain segments of our community that want to help me and my fellow Jews feel more comfortable. So what do they try to do? They try to homogenize and pasteurize the holiday season. By what? Today, it's not politically correct to say Merry Christmas anymore. What you have to say is Happy Holidays. So you call up a company, Walmart, you make your order, and what does she say at the end? God forbid, if she would say Merry Christmas, oh my gosh, they pull her phone out of the wall and they say, you don't know, you almost caused a second Holocaust. You know, God forbid, there could have been a Jew at the other end of that phone, and you said to that Jew, Merry Christmas. Who knows what's going to happen? He's going to go to the ADL, they're going to go to the ACLU, we're going to have a lawsuit against Walmart. Oh my God, this is worse than murder. Worse than murder. And every place you go now, hardly you see any more Merry Christmas. It's all become very religious neutral. All you say Happy Holidays, because we don't want to make any minority feel that they are not part of the American fabric. And even though that the United States is 95% Christian, and even though the Christians founded this country, and although there's no national church to the United States of America, still we have to realize that the majority are Christians, whether they're practicing Christians, whether they're not practicing Christians. Christmas is a big thing for them. And why someone should not be able to be proud and say to us, from one Christian to another Christian, Merry Christmas, and to a Jew, Happy Hanukkah. Now, just parenthetically, I want to teach you all something, all you Gentiles out there in the crowd. The name of this holiday is Hanukkah. It's not Chanukah, it's not Hanukkah, it's not Hanukkah, it's Hanukkah. Now I know that you can't pronounce the CH because there's no sound of ch in the English language. So I want you to practice by swallowing some hair. Now if you ever have a hair, if you ever swallowed some hair in your throat and you go that's the way you develop the ch sound. And before you know it, after 3 or 4 tries, you're going to be able to say Hanukkah like the best rabbi in Brooklyn. I guarantee it. But this is only a small little piece of advice from me to you. If you don't want to try it, that's all right. But don't go away saying Hanukkah, Hanukkah, smoke some marijuana. I don't know. The thing is, it's called Hanukkah. And I, as a Jew, would rather, if you, when I come to my bank teller and she looks at me and I kind of look like a Jew with the yarmulke and the beard, short and fat, I mean, you know, it's a typical rabbi look, and I walk into the bank, I want her to say to me, Happy Hanukkah. What would be wrong with that? Instead of just having this very neutral, I don't even know what it means, Happy Holidays. Does that mean that I'm supposed to be happy that everybody's celebrating a holiday right now? Does it mean that I should be happy that only certain people are celebrating a holiday right now? And what about the Muslims? I don't know if they have. I think Ramadan was last month. They don't have a holiday. So should we say Happy Holidays except for the Muslims who are not celebrating a holiday, but I wish they were celebrating a holiday so we would not make them feel bad? All of these things are really things that we need to ponder here in America. Because why? And I know that many pastors are also upset about this, because what it does is it detracts from the real meaning of what Christmas is really supposed to be all about. The reason for the season is, you know what, is the birth of Jesus, the founder of Christianity. But we, and I include myself in the big picture of America, because it just also happens to the holiday of Hanukkah, is that we only celebrate all of the superficial trappings. Oh, we all know about Christmas parties. Woohoo, man! When is the company going to do a Christmas party? We all know about eggnog. We all know about giving presents. We all know about all of those things. But what about the deeper meaning of the holiday? No, that we can't talk about. Even to have a nativity scene. Oh, God forbid, if you should put on a nativity scene somewhere in a public square and show the manger and all of that, who knows what could happen? There could be mass confusion in the streets. People will start crashing their cars into each other. There could be rebellion, a riot. Who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be an unbelievable, worse than a tsunami here. That God forbid that somebody, some church put up a nativity scene is going to go against everything that I believe. You know what I would think? I think that the people who are protesting against the very words of Merry Christmas, I think they protest too much. My suggestion to them would be, listen, if you feel comfortable in your own skin, I don't think that by someone telling me Merry Christmas, their intention is to convert me. I have no intention of converting. I'm very happy being a Jew. I believe in Judaism. I believe in the sanctity of whatever Judaism says to me, and I'm happy that I could able to live with my neighbors. On one side a Christian, another side a Muslim, across the street an atheist, down the street a Buddhist. Fine. And if someone says to me, Merry Christmas, it's not going to affect me, I promise. So if you see me in the street, don't feel bad. You can say Happy Hanukkah. You could even say Merry Christmas. You could say whatever you want. It's not going to offend me. Because, as I always tell my congregation, around Hanukkah, which is not and never meant to be a substitute for Christmas. I mean, see, people think that we invented this holiday since we felt so bad and since we spent millions of dollars going to psychiatrists because, you know what, doc? You know what? Everybody in my office is celebrating Christmas and I have to go home with nothing. So Jews, always very inventive because we specialized in survival. I mean, you know, if you're being persecuted for 2,000 years, all of a sudden you learn how to survive. So we invented this holiday called Hanukkah, and we made it not one day. You know what? Forget it. Those Christians are going to have one day of Christmas. We're going to show them. We're going to put together a holiday that's going to blow them out of the water. We're going to put 8 days of Hanukkah. The Christians are getting 1 day of presents. Watch what we're going to do. We're going to have 8 days of presents. So when you go back to school on the day after New Year's and all your little kids are telling, oh, what did you get under the Christmas tree? The little Jewish kid could always puff his chest out and say, I got 8 presents. That's not the purpose of Hanukkah. Was never intended to be. It never was meant to be as a substitute for Christmas. It has nothing to do except the fact that they always almost fall out in the same season. What is the story of Hanukkah? So let me tell you that it preceded Christmas by close to 200 years. 200 BC, the state of Israel, the nation of Israel, was subjugated by the Greek-Syrian army. It goes back to Alexander the Great, when he literally took over the entire known world. And part of that world was Israel. Now, Alexander eventually died, and his kingdom was split into two. Israel fell under the Syrian-Greek monarchy. One of those kings was a fellow by the name of Antiochus. Antiochus IV, as a matter of fact. Now, this Antiochus was not a very nice person, I have to tell you. He was a kind of a person that didn't believe in pluralism. He didn't believe in democracy. He didn't believe in any of these things. He believed it's only my way or the highway. So what did he do? When he took over the state of Israel, he decided that, you know what, these Jews, their customs are too freaky for us. I mean, listen, we're Greek, we're cultured, you know, we're civilized. But the Jews, they walk around with these long beards and these robes, and they sacrifice to one God and monotheism. It wasn't for him. I mean, this was hocus pocus marocus as far as he was concerned. So what did he do? He put out a decree that, you know what, no Jew can practice Judaism. Nothing. Forbade freedom of religion. One of the fundamental rights that we have in this country is to live as we want to and say whatever we want to. We want to say Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. But in the days of Antiochus, oh no, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't say a word. So what happened? So for years, Jews moved underground. They studied underground. They performed all of the commandments underground. And a certain segment of these Jews couldn't take the pressure, so they began to assimilate into the Greek culture. They almost became Greek themselves. They accepted all of the Greek gods and all of paganism and all of these things. And slowly but surely, traditional Jews that were for their whole lives were observant, all of a sudden became influenced by this Greek Syrian culture, and they started to move away from traditional Judaism. They became what we called Hellenized Jews. So there is a story that goes on by a fellow by the name of Matisyahu. And Matisyahu was a true follower of traditional Judaism. And he lived and he performed all of the commandments underground and taught his children and grandchildren all of the commandments of the Torah, of Jewish law, but they were not able to perform it on the outside because it was forbidden by this king called Antiochus. So they moved underground. One day while he was walking down the street, he saw that in his town of Modi'in, the Hellenized Jews had built an altar, and they were about to bring a sacrifice to one of the pagan gods that they had chosen. Matisyahu, who came from the priestly family of the Hashmonaim, decided that he couldn't take this anymore. He was so furious and so angry that here was a Jew who should have believed in monotheism, who should have followed the rules and regulations of Moses and his Torah, was willing in a public square, to sacrifice an animal for a foreign god. That Matisyahu freaked out. He took his sword, and on that spot he slew that Jew. Now, when he slew him, he knew that he was opening up a can of worms, because this would not go unanswered. When the Antiochus found out that there was a slaying of a Jew in the public square at Modi'in, he called together his army and his generals, and he told them quickly, I'm telling you that there's going to be a rebellion. Jews are going to rise up. We've got to prepare ourselves. And that's exactly what happened. Matisyahu went home. He had 5 sons. The most famous of his sons was called Judah the Maccabee. Maccabee is an acronym for 4 Hebrew words which read, Mi kamocha ba'elim Hashem. Who is as strong as you, O Lord? And they printed that on their shields. And they formed this little ragtag army, and they decided that they're going to have to drive out the Greeks and Syrian army from Israel. They're going to have to once again reestablish this kingdom as a Jewish kingdom. This is a Jewish country. They were invaded. They were occupied by the Syrians. They wanted to get rid of them. But how are they going to be able to get rid of them? The Syrians were a well-organized army. The Syrians had elephants that they fought with. The Syrians had weapons. What did the Jews have? A few dedicated soldiers. So Yehuda Maccabee, slowly but surely in the hills of Judea, began to train this little army. And a great miracle happened. As they began to fight the war, they were successful. And slowly but surely, they drove the Syrians and Antiochus out of Israel and reclaimed sovereignty over their own land. When the Syrians were out of Israel, the first thing they wanted to do was rededicate the temple service, which was forbidden during the reign of Antiochus. So the Hashmonaim, by this time, unfortunately, Judah, the great leader, had died. But the Hashmonaim went to the Holy Temple to light the sacred menorah, the candelabra. This was a huge, beautiful candelabra that the high priest would light every day with special oil that came from very, very special olives. All of a sudden, to their dismay and to their frustration, they looked around the room and they saw that every jug of oil was contaminated by the Syrian army. Everyone was opened up, poured out, contaminated, spiritually unfit to be used for the menorah. The Jews didn't know what to do. Here they were so excited. They were a miraculous victory over a very strong army. And here where they wanted to show God their appreciation by rededicating the temple, there was no oil. And the closest place to get oil was 4 days away. Suddenly, there was a hue and a cry in the temple. A shout. Someone said, wait, I see something at the bottom of the shelf. Let's go. And they started to dig. And what did they find? One small cruse of oil that was uncontaminated. It still had the seal of the high priest around it. And they took this oil and they poured it lovingly into the sockets of the menorah, into the vessel of the menorah, and they lit it. They expected that this was enough oil to last for 1 day. And they sent the messenger to immediately go and to bring back oil as soon as he possibly can. And miraculously, what happened from that one small cruise, instead of lasting 1 day, it lasted for 8 long days. And 8 long days became a tremendous miracle. And when the rabbis and the scholars and the sages and the prophets saw what was going on, they instituted at that moment, for the next year, that on this day, on the 25th day of the Hebrew month of Kislev, a 8-day holiday called Chanukah, because Chanukah means Chanukah, that we rested on the 25th from our wars, should be instituted. And on those 8 days, we have a responsibility and a commandment to light the menorah. On the first day, we light 1 candle. And on the second day, we light 2. And on the third day, we light 3, and so on and so forth until the end of the 8 days. My friends, this was the miracle of Hanukkah. This is the true story of Hanukkah. So when we think about the message and the lessons about Hanukkah, what do we say? Is this a story of giving presents to one another? Sure, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a deeper meaning. There's more to it than just partying and drinking and having a good time. It's reflecting and thinking about how important it is to be able to practice your religion. How lucky we are here in the United States of America that we are given the opportunity as Jews, a small minority in this country, that we can light a menorah. Not only can we light a menorah, but in many places there are menorah in the public squares. If you go to downtown Los Angeles and New York City, all over this country, even in the front of the White House, there's a menorah that burns brightly in the sky. And this is due to the fact that we live in a great country that allows us to do that. But there's another lesson in why is it that we light the first 1 day candle number 1, the second day candle number 2, and the third day candle number 3? Why do we not, as some opinion said, light the first day 8 and 7 and 6 and go backwards? Because the candles represent spirituality. The candles represent our connection to God. Our own soul yearns to burn like that candle. So on day number 1, the Jew says to himself, you know what? I have built a comfort zone around me. I have built this little area that I feel very comfortable living in that area. I don't want to go here or I don't want to go there. I don't want to do things that I don't understand, that's not logical, that's not rational. Okay, that's good for day number 1. Now day number 2 comes along. And you say to yourself, no, I'm not ready for day number 2. I still want to stay my old self. I want to be day number 1. No, my friends. What Hanukkah demands of you is to stretch, is to expand, is to explore the possibilities. Many of us are stuck. Many of us are in this rut that we can't get out. We can't break out of our spiritual malaise. We're just so poured on with all of this stuff that goes on in the United States that we don't see our soul soar. So the second day of Hanukkah says, my friend, what you did yesterday, as much as you were spiritual yesterday, you got to do number 2. And then comes number 3, and then comes day number 4, and then comes number 5. And all of these things add on to our spiritual success until the 8th day when the entire menorah is lit. And we sit there and we look at those candles and we reflect on those heroes. That what did they do? That they stuck by their principles. They did not give in, even though it was much easier to assimilate into the big society. They did not. Matisyahu told his sons, and his sons told their sons, and their sons told their children that we have a very, very direct line that we need to follow. That there are things in observance that we need to do. And no power on earth is strong enough to take that away from us. And when we think about really what the meaning of Hanukkah is, now, aren't we proud to say Happy Hanukkah? Shouldn't we walk around as Jews and be proud of what this is all about? And if we're able to do that, if we as a small minority in the United States of America is able to practice our religion and put the menorah on the windowsill of our house so all of our neighbors could share in this message, because this is not only a Jewish message, this also happens to be a message that is true for everybody, regardless of what religion you practice. Because freedom of religion is so important. You look around the world today, ladies and gentlemen, and you see many, many countries that you could not practice Christmas. You could not practice Hanukkah. Why? Because that's the way it goes. But here in the United States, we are proud and we feel good that we are able to do what this is. So I say to myself, and I say to you as well, I don't think that there's a war on Christmas. No. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that all these people that are trying to marginalize want to eradicate Christmas altogether. I'm not going that far. But I think that we need to just calm down a little bit. Everybody needs to take a deep breath, go back to your corners, sit down for a while, begin to realize that, you know what, it's not that offensive. Saying Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever it is not going to upset the delicate equilibrium that we have here in the United States. The Constitution is very, very safe. Even if someone is going to broach the subject and use the words Merry Christmas, because the meaning is so much more deeper than anything that we can imagine. We do not have to worry. I want to approach one other thing that people have a little bit of a misconception, and that is presents on Hanukkah. We think about giving 8 days of presents. Where is the source of this custom? Where did this come from? Well, years ago, as I said, when Jews were forbidden to practice the Torah and to study the Torah openly, they went underneath, they went underground. There was a time when a Roman soldier or a Greek soldier would come into the house, and all of a sudden you'd have to put away your Torah books and play with this little, what we call today a dreidel, a little top. And the little top was like a little game that the children would play. And as the children would play this game, their parents would give them a coin or two to be able to play this game. And over the years, it has developed. And I remember as a child in my own hometown that the parents would give their children what we called Hanukkah gelt. They would give him a few coins in order to make the children happy. Because you could imagine the terror on the children's faces that when, the Greeks and the Syrian soldiers would come in and they would demand to know, what's going on over here? What are you people doing over here? Are you studying Torah? And the teacher would have to look up and say, studying Torah? Were you kidding? Look at it. We're just around here playing tops. We're playing with these dreidels. And in order to give the children a sense of satisfaction and to give them a real pleasure in the holiday, so they themselves would not have to be so fearful, we decided to give them something very special. And this is where the custom of the Hanukkah gelt started. But this has to be taken into perspective, my friends, because there are many people, in America especially, you know what, there's no such word as shortage. Whatever custom we have in the United States, we have to accelerate. We have to go bigger. We have to go better. We have to go twice as much. I mean, if my friend is getting a bicycle, I'm getting a scooter. And if I'm getting a scooter, next year I better get a car. And who knows what? I want my father to go out there and get a second mortgage because I don't want to be the guy in school who comes home and everybody's walking around with their new bicycles and I got a skateboard. That's so last year. Come on. Who wants that skateboard last year? This is a message that I think is dangerous to tell our children. What I think that we need to do is to put the presents into perspective. It's great. Who doesn't like getting a present? Who doesn't like waking up in the morning or at night sitting around and all of a sudden you're presented with a gift? Oh, sure, it validates our love. But when the love of the family is predicated on how big that present is going to be, or how much money you spent on that present, or how much thought you gave into putting that present, and the expectations are sky high, what we've done is we've fallen back on the same old problem of only thinking about the superficial ideas of the holiday. And when we only use the superficiality, if all of our children's expectations are the presents, we've lost the true meaning of what this is all about. And that is to really think about family, that this gives us an opportunity, both for Jews and for Christians, because you know what? We're so busy during the year. We run around so much and we do so many things that we never even have a chance to sit around as a family. So for Christians and for Jews, this forces us now, puts us in a frame of mind that we need to be a family. And all of a sudden, we're sitting around the table and we're talking to each other. Holy Maloney, look at this. Do you belong here? Are you part of the family? I mean, I haven't seen you for weeks. Where have you been? Well, I'm your teenage son, Dad, and I know that it's hard that we don't see each other. So think about this idea of family, of spending more time together. Think about the things which you love to do together. Think about the morals and the ethics and the values that Christmas and Hanukkah both portray. I mean, there are so many wonderful, wonderful life lessons to be taken out. How to be kind, to worry about the poor. While you're sitting at home and you're opening up all of these presents on Hanukkah, think about the less fortunate. Maybe take some time and write a check to some organization that helps the homeless, feeds the hungry, clothes the naked. Do something for somebody else. Because if you're not going to do this, then you've missed the entire spirit of what the holiday season is all about. So, to sum it all up, I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, number one, let's not be that politically correct. I mean, if you're going to feel like saying Merry Christmas to your Christian friends, go ahead, say it, get it off your chest. I promise you, if we do that, the country is not going to fall apart. And second, take some time from your hectic shopping season to sit back and reflect what this is really, truly all about. Not so much on the consumerism part, because that we know, thank God, the day after Thanksgiving, we're rushing, we're running, we're going, we're fighting, we're doing everything we can to get that last bargain. We all know that. But the deeper meaning of this holiday season is that we can get along in this country, and we thank God for the blessings that we here in the United States receive so much from Him every day, that we have to continuously look up to heaven and thank God in heaven and ask for His continuous blessing of the United States of America. I wish you all a very, very healthy, happy, whatever you're practicing, whether it's Christmas or Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or whatever religion is, you should have a healthy and happy holiday season. And until next time, take care of yourself and God bless you.
Hashem, בחצוי סלקינו יפריחו